I'm Shane O'Driscoll and I'm a visual artist and designer from Bandon, County Cork. I studied graphic design here in Cork City many moons ago. Moved to Dublin. I was there for about 10 years working as an art director and a graphic designer, but I also kind of kept the printmaking kind of going on the side as well. That was my own personal creative outlet. I think in the last 12 months I've kind of gone more so into the printmaking and the fine art aspect, so it's nice to kind of have this project kind of meld them all together.
Actually, I feel casual like this. My name is Suzanna Melinn and I am a chef from County Clare, living in Cork at the moment. Went to NCAD, I did fashion design. I worked as a fashion buyer for a while. I didn't really like that, so then I decided to go back to college and I did my master's in interaction design in Limerick in the UL. And then I became vegan and there was nothing good to eat, so I just started making my own food. I met someone nice, moved to Cork, and then decided to start my business, Banana Melon Kitchen. I didn't really exactly know what way or direction I want to go in. All I know is I have a really strong background in art and design, and then I just used food as a different medium. That's kind of the way I looked at it. Because I was never trained as a chef, but then because maybe I was naive going into the food business, I was able to experiment a bit more because I didn't know the traditional way to do things. So I think I could be a bit more creative, and then I just started taking photos and I did an Instagram account and it kind of went from there. I spoke to a girl last year in Cork, her name was Shelley, and she was an architect and she was really into food. We just met up over Instagram, like everything has happened through Instagram, it's amazing. Amy decided to do this project and then Shelley was like, oh, I know someone you should call, and that person was me, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, why not?
We're doing something like this and it's something totally new to both of us as well, like that, and totally different kind of territory. It's best to sit down and just kind of bounce stuff around, and that's what we did initially. We just
got loads of ideas.
We created a kind of Pinterest board between us, both of us, and we kind of linked it and just threw everything in the pot like that, and which is great for starters, but I think after a while there's too much going on in the pot and there's just too many things going on, so it was just kind of restrict it and dial it back, keep it simple and on the brief.
We're going to be based in Emmet Place. We have to be sympathetic to the area. When I think of the Crawford, one of the primary people I think of is Harry Clark and his stained glass windows. And his stuff is really beautiful and really delicate, and I kind of wanted to echo that. So I wanted to do stained glass but out of sugar and then invite people to eat it then. So these are just bits I've done out of sugar. So it actually almost looks like glass. I wanted to create a museum experience but way more interactive, and I think food is the most interactive thing that you can get.
Initially, we kind of had our styles together like that. The circle was a common link between both of us there, just kind of mellow palettes as well like that. So straight off, aesthetically, there was that connection. I suppose I used a language of shapes within my composition, so just breaking it down and I suppose creating a kind of 3D element out of it like that. And the Harry Clark thing was kind of that, kind of colour and light, and because he had amazing stained glass work, we were going to use neon acrylic within the construction as well. So it's almost kind of like contemporary stained glass, maybe, in that kind of sense. The idea was to kind of bring that kind of Harry Clark element and integrate it within both my art style, Suzanna's cooking. It just creates kind of connection with the space. So if people come and visit our pavilion, they have a chat, we kind of educate them more so. Like kind of what Suzanna said, it's kind of like a museum stroke gallery, but it's integration. Like there's no do not touch. It's like get stuck in, touch stuff, break things, It just creates a better connection with people. There's no pretentious standoff. It's like get in, ask questions, and then hopefully we can educate people about design and art. And if they like what we're talking about, they might kind of go into Crawford afterwards and check out the exhibition. And it just creates a different kind of route in someone's day, which is always a good thing,
He uses a lot of red, purple, two kinds of blues and black. That's when I was looking through his stuff, and the stuff on the Crawford, it was mostly those colours. So I want to kind of keep it in that colour palette. It's different when food is your medium, because food is perishable, food melts, food acts completely different than raw materials. So you have to think in a different way, how will you preserve them? And so there's so much practicality and stuff involved.
I suppose the idea is to kind of have a plinth, I suppose, within the centre there, where Suzanna will have her lollipops kind of on display there. The guys in bench space have been helping us out in there, and like they've been amazing as well, you know. We were down there last week with Fergus and Rory, and like that, they're great. So we actually got to see it physically for the first time.
But when you get to see the scale of it, you just realise the proportions are like, this is a real thing. People are really interacting with it. It's kind of bespoke. They're going to be making the lolly stands and the menu and everything. So, like, those guys are great.
Yesterday was very busy getting it up, happy with that. Everyone kind of just totally mucked in and we got across the line, and it's like exceeded what we kind of expected in our own heads, which is great.
Do you want to have a look? These are lollipops all made of sugar, but they're quite delicate. So will I show you this one? Whoa, look at it the size of your head. Our idea was kind of to create an edible museum. So not only do you get to look at it, but you get to taste a bit of Harry Clark. We had ones for people to give away and they're flavoured. So we had sweet, salty and sour. We sold out already. I made 90 and we were sold out by half one. There's a little piece of history on them as well that people would read and they could take away. So like a museum. And then this is edible as well. This is probably the biggest lolly that I've ever made or I've ever seen. Do you know this is a massive lollipop? This is one big lollipop. Isn't that crazy?
People are kind of coming around, engaging and talking about the art and design, which was a plan day one. We're actually sold out at the moment, so that's a good thing, I think, you know. I was a bit kind of concerned to start, definitely, because there's architects and the whole 3D construction is their realm, while we aren't coming from that background. It was a challenge, but something I've always wanted to do, and I think you kind of have to scare yourself a couple of times a year with your career to kind of continually progress.